Roger Penrose, for more than 300 years, science has been giving us increasingly more powerful ways of describing reality, and yet somehow it does seem as though, as physicists try to close in on what reality is at that fundamental level, reality itself is slipping away, and the theories are becoming less concrete and more abstract.
I think that's right. It doesn't sort of make sense. You say, well, we've got real things, and somehow they become mental constructs. But my position is rather different from that. In fact, I have this picture which refers to three kinds of reality. One of them being the initial, if you like, our mental things, our initial perceptions and so on. The second world will be the world of what we think of as physical objects. And then, as we study them more and investigate their properties, we find that they seem to be constructed out of things which are very abstract in the sense that they're just mathematical notions. And these we seem to think of as mental constructs too, but I take the view, a much more Platonic view, that these mathematical notions occupy their own world, which is independent of ourselves.
So that's a very tantalizing picture you're painting for us, this three-level picture where we've got the reality of our perceptions, the reality of the physical material world, and then this third reality, which is the laws of nature or the abstractions that have this separate existence. I'm wondering what the consequences of that are, because, of course, our mathematical tools allow us to describe more physical realities than we are experiencing. So it seems like there's a lot more reality to go around of all those other possible physical realities that could be described by the tools we've got now. Must they also somehow exist?
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole.
You can say that.
I can see it in your eyes. You have the look of a man who accepts what he sees because he is expecting to wake up. Ironically, this is not far from the truth.
Man's achievement is to have created a world of mind, intellect and imagination, which is as real in its way as any actual country on the map. Sir Karl Popper, in one of his most important papers, calls it the third world, or world 3. The first world is the objective world of things. The second world is my inner subjective world. But, says Popper, there's a third world, the world of objective contents of thoughts. Teilhard de Chardin calls this third world the noosphere, that is, the world of the mind.
Well, the view I have is I tend to draw this picture with the three worlds represented as sort of blobs, and each one is related to the next one in a cyclic way that goes round and round. So that, for example, the world of mentality, in a certain sense, you might say, emerges out of the world of physical objects, because you have these living human brains, or maybe animal brains, living, wakeful, healthy brains, which seem somehow to be able to evoke this quality of consciousness. And so the mental world in that picture seems to emerge out of the physical world. And then you go back and say, well, what about the mathematical world?
Right.
So likewise, I say it's only a small part of the mathematical world which gives you physical reality. We don't understand exactly what kind of mathematics we are allowed to call real things. That's a big mystery. And likewise, we don't know what kind of physical objects give rise to mentality. But I have also a circular picture, because there's how we perceive the world of mathematics. And again, I'm saying it's only part of our mentality which wastes its time thinking about mathematical entity. Most of the time we're worrying about all sorts of other things. So in each case, it's a small part of each world which relates to the next one.
There's a third world, the world of objective contents of thoughts. Teilhard de Chardin calls this third world the noosphere, that is, the world of the mind.
It's a lovely, almost topological puzzle sort of view, and you've got these three corners with the mental world, the mathematical world, and the physical world. Is that going to be the limit for us, do you think, or is there a future theory of everything that will culminate in a deeper understanding of what these realities are? What's holding them together in this relationship, or is this destined to always be a kind of mysterious stage that the laws of nature are at play upon?
Well, all I can say is I hope not. I mean, I would hope that at some stage we get some deeper understanding of how these things interrelate and why they do and so on. At the moment, they're just mysteries. At the moment, we have no idea, well, only perhaps partial ideas, but usually different people have different ideas about what kind of physical structures will give rise to mentality. And likewise, we don't have any clear idea what kind of mathematical structures will give rise to actual physical things. And likewise, we don't quite know how we understand mathematics. There are even some mysteries there. So I think there are a lot of unknowns.
The unknown. Where all ideas start. It's not an easy place to go. But keep going. And you'll always end up somewhere new. Isn't that why we call it the great unknown?
Whether these unknowns will become knowns is a good question, and I tend to be an optimist in the sense, at least, that these things are in principle perhaps knowable if we live long enough, but there are other questions arise there.
Right. I guess one question that arises there is if we follow what the evolutionary biologists are telling us, consciousness arose to solve certain problems that might have to do with survival in the Pleistocene that don't seem to have a lot to do with teasing out these abstract rules. Is it possible that consciousness itself is limited and that there's some deeper picture which we just aren't equipped to see?
Well, that's always possible. What I always find very remarkable is understanding of mathematics, because most of the mathematics that's done as mathematics is completely beyond any experience. So, how can people wandering around in the Pleistocene or whenever we wander around, how can we conceivably have built up the kind of intellect that enables us to talk about infinite sets and concepts which are completely outside any immediately useful purpose? So there's something there in consciousness somehow is at least potentially able to achieve all sorts of things beyond what it was designed for, if you like. And quite why that's the case is a great mystery, but it seems to be the case.
There is still no such reality as something.
Wake up! Wake up! Wake up!
This isn't real. What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
I take the view, a much more Platonic view, that these mathematical notions occupy their own world, which is independent of ourselves.
There's a third world, the world of objective contents of thoughts.
I'm asking you to make a small quantum jump with me to accept one deviant concept. That our other states of consciousness are as real as our waking state, and that their reality can be externalized.
We're beyond mass or matter here, beyond even energy. What we're back to is the first thought. We're beyond mass and matter here, beyond even energy. What we're back to is the first thought.
Roger Penrose, it's been real.
Very nice. Thank you very much. I got a lot out of the conversation too.
Thanks for speaking with us this week.